Lavrov stresses that the Syrian opposition, along with those who supported it, seek to obstruct the political process, and the coalition terms to participate in Geneva conference are unrealistic. Syria welcomes the conference held in Tehran, which stresses the necessity of stopping violence and launching a political process. Our army units restore full control in a number of areas in Homs and target Jabhat al-Nusra terrorists there. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that the Syrian opposition does not want a political settlement to be launched and seems to be seeking foreign intervention to solve the crisis in Syria. During a press conference with his Cuban counterpart Bruno Rodriguez in Moscow, Lavrov said, "The course the Doha coalition pursues is unacceptable," referring to the presence of the more serious opposition forces in Syria. Lavrov added that the conditions of the opposition coalition to take part in the international conference are unrealizable. He expressed hope that reasonable sides in Europe and the USA would exercise pressure on the forces supporting the coalition, who are trying to present it as the only side that the government should conduct dialogue with. A Russian diplomatic source stressed that the Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov will represent Russia in the American-Russian consultations concerning Syria scheduled next week. The source added that the agreement on holding the consultations has been approved by both sides during the recent communication between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and his American counterpart John Kerry. The spokeswoman for the U.S. State Department Jen Psaki had announced earlier that Russia and the U.S. will hold talks next week in Geneva to discuss the Syrian issue. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has said that Russia, the USA and the international organization have still found no solution to issues related to the International Conference on Syria, including the date of the conference's convention. Ki-moon added that there are currently active consultations conducted by the UN, the USA and Russia. He said there were several points that should be clarified before extending invitations for the conference. Among such points, he added, was the list of the participants in the conference and the participation of the Syrian opposition, who should be present in a unified way. And the European decision to lift the embargo on arms supplies to the terrorist groups in Syria, Ki-moon reiterated emphasis that there is no military solution to the crisis in Syria, and a political solution is the only way to end the crisis once and for all, without referring to the fact that the European decision constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and the UN Charter and lays more obstacles in the way of the International Conference on Syria. Syria has welcomed the meeting of the Friends of Syria held in Tehran and the ensuing results, which stressed the need to stop the violence and to start a national dialogue among the Syrians in order to find a solution to the crisis that allows the Syrian people to decide their future away from foreign intervention in their affairs and in a manner that preserves Syria's national sovereignty. In a statement to this effect, the spokesman of the Foreign and Expatriates Ministry expressed Syria's thanks and appreciation for the Islamic Republic of Iran for the efforts it is exerting to find a political solution to the crisis in Syria through a comprehensive national dialogue among the Syrians, and its emphasis on the need to stop the violence that would be achieved when certain states stop sending weapons to the terrorists. The spokesman also expressed Syria's high appreciation for the participation of representatives of 40 states in the Friends of Syria meeting as evidence of their real friendship for the Syrian people and their support for the efforts exerted to solve the crisis through national dialogue and their call for lifting the economic sanctions imposed on Syria. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs Hossein Amir Abdullahian said that his country has received a verbal invitation to participate in the International Conference on Syria due to be held in Geneva, but it has not received a written one yet. Abdullahian added in a statement that after receiving a written invitation, we will decide on the participation in the International Conference in Geneva. He expressed Iran's great support to the Syrian people, leadership and the opposition that believes in the political solution. In reference to Tehran's conference held yesterday, the Iranian official said, "We have formed a liaison committee with the aim of providing a suitable ground for much more dialogue between the government and the opposition that believe in political means, as it also aims at hosting violence and intensifying international efforts in this regard." The Foreign Committee at the EU Parliament criticized the EU decision on lifting arms embargo on the Syrian terrorists, pointing out that sending more weapons will not solve the problem. Deputy President of the EU Foreign Committee said that arming a divided opposition is an irresponsible measure, adding that some countries like Britain may send weapons to the armed groups in Syria, which may aggravate the situation. Rajek called for exerting more efforts to holding an international conference on Syria and working to rendering it successful. He described the situation in Syria as being very tragic. Our armed forces continue to pursue fleeing Jabhat al-Nusra gangs in al-Qseir. They have restored security to Arjun after clearing it of terrorists. 15 armed men from Jabhat al-Nusra were killed in an ambush on al-Qseir Shamsin Road. 4 pickup jeeps were destroyed and a 4th that was equipped with a Doshka machine gun was confiscated. The army also regained full control of Daraa airport after eliminating a number of terrorists and capturing others. Some of them turned themselves in. The TV camera entered the airport after it had been cleared of the terrorists. Security has also been restored to the farms area east of al-Qseir, which extends from al-Diabe to the Herij villages after killing several terrorists and destroying their criminal tools. In Idlib, our armed forces ambushed a terrorist group near a canned food factory on Idlib-Harim Road, killing 3 members of the group, including a woman that carried an American passport, indicating that she was born in 1980 from the American state of Michigan. The second terrorist was Ali Manasifi, a British national born in London in 1990. No identification documents were found with the third. Weapons, a computer and maps of military positions were found in their possession. One person was killed when a mortar shell launched by terrorists today dropped on citizens' houses in Harasta residential suburbs in Damascus countryside. In al-Qasimiya village in eastern Ghouta, also in Damascus suburbs, our armed forces found a terrorist hideout that contained a factory to manufacture explosive devices and military equipment. Two citizens were killed and others were injured when 2 explosive devices planted by terrorists blew up on Busra Sham Road in Daraa suburbs. The terrorist blast took place this morning when a private car carrying a family of 5 people was passing by, killing the driver and a woman and injuring her 4 sons. Another explosive device blew up, wounding a bus driver and inflicting damage on the bus. Army units during an operation targeted Jabhat al-Nusra linked terrorist gatherings and dens in Al-Rihaniya and Al-Furunluq in Lattakia countryside. Large numbers of terrorists were killed and wounded during the operation. A rocket launcher base and a base for firing mortar were also destroyed. Iraqi Foreign Minister Hoshyar Zebari renewed his country's stand, which supports a political solution in Syria. He stressed the necessity of stopping violence and giving a chance to the political solution, pointing out that a priority should be given to regional stability, as Iraq will be affected directly by any potential chaos and violence. He added that the Syrian people are the only side which can determine its own future away from any foreign intervention. And now to latest business and market news, but after a short break.